It's all too much for me. I can't miss it. This is another episode of the Flight Ringers podcast. I'm David King.
And I'm Dan Spottswood.
We're professional cartoonists and Legion of Superheroes experts.
And this is Super Talk. We're returning to a fan favorite of our listeners, the letters column.
They love it.
It's riveting television, YouTube.
I mean, I know I've told you this. I think the letters column videos get watched less than the other ones, but it's totally my favorite thing. I like it a lot better. I think it's way more interesting than a comic.
I brought one for you.
Oh man, is that like a banana?
Can't get it through. No, it's an orange.
Oh,
you don't like the orange? I got some blue ones.
I haven't had any of them in a long time. I don't know what they taste like.
Your parents didn't let you have it.
The cheap ones. I got the fake ones.
What are the real ones?
Well, there's Pop Ice, which is like the pro ones, and then there's like Flavor Ice, but then there's like no-name ones, I think, that you could get, and we would occasionally get those.
That's probably what these are. It was like $3 for 100, so it probably isn't the good ones.
Yeah, for some reason, we never really had them, but once in a while.
Yeah. One of the advantages of having a child in your house, you can excuse bringing shit like this into the house. Then eat it yourself.
I think it's because, at my house, my dad liked ice cream, and my mom probably likes ice cream, and did not like those things. So, like, why would they buy those?
I like ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm all about the ice cream. You got to cut back on the ice cream. Getting a gut.
I'm getting one from drinking beer. I mean, I have one from drinking beer. I'm not getting it. I already have it. Achievement unlocked. I have one already.
You're nurturing one.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to get rid of it.
That spare tire.
I'll probably have the whole set of radials pretty soon.
Turn it into Chuck Tane.
Yeah, I need to be Chuck Tane who's lost his powers. That's what the physique I'm going for. This is the letters page for Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes 263. The discussion is, I think, about Superboy 257 or thereabouts.
I don't know. Did they even mention an issue in here?
First guy's talking about
258.
Wait, 257.
What?
Wait, are we looking at the same letters?
Oh, maybe not. Nope. You're right. Sorry.
That's fine. This is from Scott Tepper, Highland Park, Illinois. He says he's been a collector of Superboy and the Legion for 3 years. And he says, I mean, really collecting it. He has all but about 30 issues of Adventure Comics, thanks to the, I think they published a publication guide in issue 243. So he was able to polish off all but those last 30 issues. Yeah,
those 30 issues were probably $5 each. At this point.
I bet they were less than that. I bet nobody wanted them. I bet you just couldn't find an old newsstand or something in Highland Park.
That first appearance was probably $75, maybe.
In 1980? I think that's when this
maybe less.
issue came out. I think it was way less than that. $50 comic. I'm missing about half of the adventure issues, so about 40, and then I have everything else after that. So I'm outdoing this guy. I'm doing better than him.
Doesn't seem like you're too crazy about that era, which almost seems sacrilege for a Legion fan. But
well, they're the hardest ones to get now.
Yeah.
The first 40 Legion comics, I'm missing those.
Yeah, but it's really the first dozen that are probably hard to get. That's
true, but I didn't really decide to start putting money into it till a couple of years ago. And that's how you get them, is you just have to pay $20 or $40 or $50 for each one. So it's a little costly.
Yeah. I'm
trying. I keep my eyes out.
Someday.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever get that 247.
You never know, man. The economy will probably collapse sooner or later here. Someone will be desperate for food.
Oh, yeah.
They're selling off their comics, and the world's on fire. The guy doesn't care anymore. Yeah, fine. Take it. Enjoy it for the last day you have to live.
Yep. That would be the day I die, is the day I get all whatever, I don't know how many there are, 1,000, roughly 1,000, all 1,000 Legion comics. And I can just look at all of them on my own.
That's pre-1995. There's 1,000, right? You did the math once, and we should have recorded it because it was pretty fucking funny. You were doing it off the top of your head. like maybe last summer.
Yeah, I think I've done it a couple of times.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, we could go through that whole routine again sometime. But this guy feels that his large Legion collection entitles him to send them some comments and get it off his chest.
Mm-hmm.
He feels that the art had been getting worse. He didn't like the way Brainiac 5 was drawn during his insaneness.
Insaneness. Is there an extra E in there? Or?
I don't think so.
No, you're right. Insaneness.
Yeah. I don't think you really, I don't know. Is it insaneness a word? It's insanity.
Right.
This whole letter, I think this guy is a kid. I think he's not a very old person. Either he's really young or he's not bright at all.
Person with insanity, probably.
Oh, versus insaneness?
I guess insaneness isn't a noun. It's when it's a noun that it doesn't really work anymore.
Search me. What the hell's a noun?
Person, place, or thing.
I used to know that.
You're not having to relearn it all to help your kid with his homework.
Yeah, I'm just not going to bother. I mean, I know what a noun is.
You'd be surprised how quickly you have to refer. I thought it'd be like maybe like 5th or 6th grade. I might have to start looking some of this shit up. But he's in 1st grade. I'm already having to double check stuff, especially since they've reinvented like math and reading. Bill Gates had some brilliant new scheme on how to teach people. It's been a complete and utter disaster, which is why billionaires should not exist. So disproportionate sway over institutions.
Agreed. Rip Bill Gates.
In half.
Yeah. I was trying to think of another word P could stand for because I don't want it to be peace. I want it to be pieces. Rest in pieces. Bill Gates.
Rest in poverty.
Oh, that would be good. Like, what if he lost all his money?
That would be super cool.
There's a letter in this
about
Archie Brand, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Scott Tepper feels that with the advent of Superboy number 257, his opinion on the art has changed. He likes it. It's especially good on the cover of 257.
Probably Dick Giordano.
That's right. But then he takes issue with the display of powers of Princess Projectra.
It seems reasonable. Maybe that particular criticism, like she could be a little more creative with her powers.
Yeah, kind of spaced. I feel like, was there another letter talking about Princess Projectra where they...
Am I mixing them up?
What?
Maybe I am.
No, I feel like I am. I feel like somebody else was like, she should have done this and that.
Yeah, and they talked about, why doesn't she, like, make an army of legionnaires?
Yeah, where the hell was that? Here, it's in the next page, next letter.
Oh.
God
There's
damn.
a lot of repeating themes between these.
These two issues have the same letters page. Like, why'd they do it that way?
There's a lot of Tyroc between the two of them too.
Yeah. I feel like they're making an effort to talk about Tyroc because they're trying to bring him back. I think Jack C. Harris and Jerry Conway must be trying to get Tyroc big, but
I don't think so.
Actually, no, it's the next issue where they send him away forever, isn't it?
Yeah.
He just gets the spotlight in 3 issues.
They're like, people keep clamoring about Tyroc. We better just get rid of him then.
Yeah, what the fuck? People are asking for him.
They're like too embarrassed to use him or too inept to use him.
But they play it up. They say, oh, we have plans for Tyroc.
Yeah, plans to get rid of him.
He plays a big part in, and seriously, 3 issues in a row, I think, right?
Right.
263, 64, 65. But then it's 265. Yeah, he is sent away forever.
Right.
They don't even do the courtesy of like killing him. He's just gone. They're like, nah, we're not going to see him again. He's gone away for 2 years, 200 years rather.
I wonder if Levitt's got a lot of criticism about that over the years. He made it a point when he came back to like bring him back and kind of modernize him, de-stereotype him.
I think that's probably the only reason he did it is because he got some criticism.
Right.
Because I don't think he liked Tyroc. I don't think he ever really used him for anything, right?
Right.
The only time Tyroc was ever used well was in 1990 or whatever, when he's like a freedom fighter. But even then, he is still kind of second banana to Invisible Kid.
Yeah.
So in fact, Tyroc really didn't get any good coverage until in fucking 2010, when he's like the leader of the Legion Lost team back in the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
I think he had a couple good moments back then, but it was like probably like when he first appeared and right when he left. And then everything in the middle was just like the extra guy. It's waiting to get killed off.
Yeah, in issue 263, 64, he helps him out in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of just being on the sidelines, he's active in the story and helps them figure out this. Who's that bad guy? Dagon. Helps them figure out that Dagon is a disgruntled computer programmer for RJ Brand or whoever. And so good contribution, but then they get rid of him.
Yeah, even in this thing, which I just picked up for like $10, so I could not get it. The hardcover version,
Paid full price.
The page kind of looks like shit. The paper looks like shit. I think that's like the most glaring snub of him, because he goes through some trouble to get back from his home, I think, to attend this wedding. Like he comes especially for the wedding. And then when they have to go into action, they leave him behind as the guy just guarding the portal.
Well, they mentioned that it's got to be in the next letter. They say he's not allowed to speak.
They always have these bullshit excuses for not using him. Like, his powers aren't very interesting. But there's like 2 or 3 other very popular characters who have like near identical power. Like the Black Bolt, like Banshee, one of the X-Men.
Well, right. And in 263, he's doing some kind of shit where he teleports himself and another person like all over the place with his voice.
Yep. I think he can like level mountains with his voice.
Yeah.
Seems like he can fly. I think, well, that might be his flight rate. I might be mixing up with Banshee there. Banshee can fly with this.
I bet he could also fly. The storyline about the president stealing RJ Brand's money, I don't remember that at all. It's a kind of a no-brainer that when you have a billionaire, you need to have a storyline where he loses all his money.
Well, the idea of a president taking them is near and dear to me. I like the idea of the president taking billionaires' wealth.
Well, but as long as he gives it to his constituents, I guess.
Right, the people.
Most contemporary presidents wouldn't do that. They would steal the billions. I assume to enrich themselves. In this case, I don't really know what happened. I don't remember the storyline at all. I did get the impression that RJ Brand didn't get his money back.
Right.
It's gone.
Are you sure the president didn't take it to give the people health care?
Probably didn't forgive their student loans or give them health care.
I thought this was supposed to be a utopian future.
He probably didn't put the money into like the Social Security bank account or anything like that.
This seems a little weird to me. He had some of his questions. He's like, where's my favorite Legion artist, Mike Grill? This guy's been gone for like years and years by this point, right? This is 1980.
Yeah, he's been gone for some time now. Like you had Mike Grell, and then you had Staten, you had Steve Ditko.
Was filling, but yeah,
he was doing backups, I guess. But yeah. Now we're on to Jimmy James, who just started like this issue or last issue or something, right? Mm-hmm. Is that who drew 257?
It's got to be Staten, right?
Yeah, it's Staten. Dick Giordano cover.
Dave Hunt inking, the greatest inker of all time.
Oh wow, geez! Like you got Dick Giordano right there on the cover. Dave Hunt's better than him. But yeah, I think Mike Grell's been gone for quite a while.
Yeah, like the mid 70s, and this is the 80s.
Yeah, it's been about 5 years probably, huh? But I mean, this guy's the first letter this guy's written, I guess.
Right.
He just wants a status update on Mike Grell and where is he now?
Where is he right now? Is he doing Warlord by now?
He must be. I mean, I think Warlord started not too long after he started on Legion, because there's that interview with him in the Amazing World of DC thing.
Oh, right.
And he's talking about pitching Warlord, and he hadn't been on Legion very long, I don't think.
I never read it. Maybe I should give it a chance.
There's a lot of it.
Did he give up the rights to the character, or did he somehow hang on to him?
I'm not sure how it works. I don't know.
Like ElfQuest?
I think he might have sold him the concept. Maybe he has some kind of stake in it.
Yeah.
And it keeps coming back for a thing that, like, I've never known anyone who's read it or talked about it or anything. But, like, they keep, like, there was a new 52 Warlord.
Right. It seemed like such a weird, like this Kenny Rogers looking guy, half naked.
His name's Travis. Drives a truck.
Yeah, Sean Connery was popular around then. There were some infamous movies where he's like nearly naked. Like
Zardoz.
Super hairy chest and already kind of balding and big
that was
mustache.
A crazy movie. You ever seen that movie, Zardoz?
I haven't.
Zardoz.
It looks good. Like in that Beastmaster kind of good.
Exactly, yeah. I think the plot even is like rounding up old people and secretly killing them or something, like in like Soylent Green or something.
So he's like champion of the geriatric people.
Or he's just a cop.
Oh, that's too bad.
He's there to protect the old timers from
Protect
the
property.
the young people. Yeah. He and his friends want Mike Grell back. Where is Tyroc? Oh, this is where he says Tyroc wasn't allowed to talk. He says, so far, Tyroc has only been in 3 of your comic books, not counting 8 pictures of him in the Legion Giant, where Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl were wed, because he wasn't allowed to talk.
What he wanted to protest? What do they say if anyone objects to this?
He was going to object, and Ultra Boy dragged him out of there.
Because he wasn't allowed to talk, they were wed.
Do you suppose that's why they put him on monitor duty? Because, like, this guy's going to interrupt the wedding.
Saturn Girl had the hots for him. Lightning Lad did not like that.
Wow. I never thought about that.
That's why they kept putting him on monitor duty and having him stationed at some remote satellite. Why is Tyroc's name Tyrol? Sounds like some kind of hemorrhoid medication. Or maybe something you wax your car with.
Isn't there a Tyrolean harp? What is that?
I don't know, but maybe that's why he's called Tyroc.
What?
Could there be some connection? Well, the noise tune. You said a harp, right?
Yeah.
His voice is an instrument.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the same Latin root.
I love looking stuff up on the... yeah, there's a Tyrolean harp. It's just a regular harp, I think.
Tyrol is a place in the Alps.
Anyway, yeah, they just typed his name wrong in Overstreet Guide.
Mm.
It's as if Robert Overstreet hasn't even read all those comics that he's putting into his price guide. He's purely a price speculator. He's not even in it for the artwork. He doesn't even care about comics as a medium of personal expression. He just is in it for the bucks, how much you can buy and sell. Like, it's just a commodity for the son of a bitch Overstreet.
At least he didn't misspell it as Tyrone, which I believe, didn't Mike Grell say that maybe that's how he was referred to in the offices sometimes, and maybe that his name is just a sci-fi version of Tyrone? You heard that before?
I haven't heard that.
You've never heard that?
I mean, I've heard you say Tyrone.
Yeah.
You slip and you say Tyrone all the time.
Oh, no, I do not. No, I do not. No, Mike Grell talks about it. Like, he said it was a huge embarrassment because they were clearly just taking the name Tyrone and making it sci-fi. Do you really not believe me, or are you just being a dick?
No, I do believe. I believe that's possible. It just is mind-boggling.
Oh, okay. I think it might be in that companion book.
So, like, Murray Boltinoff is like, how about we have a superhero named him Tyrone because he's black?
Well, it's kind of like if you were like to make a black Vulcan and call him like Tuvok. It sounds like Tupac. You know?
Wait a minute. God, Star Trek is called Tuvok. Oh, I thought you meant Black Vulcan like on the cartoon.
No. Like, no, like on Star Trek.
Do you think Tuvok is named after Tupac?
Kind of seems like it.
Did he have a rap on the show?
I hope not, but I don't know. That would be bad. Anyway, yeah, it's a very precise accounting of Tyroc's appearances, right down to the panel numbers.
Yeah, he counted up the panels of Tyroc. He probably had a handwritten ledger.
Right.
Remember that guy who wrote in with all the number of appearances per panel of each character?
Right.
That was back in Adventure Comics days, I think. Maybe it's the same dude. Maybe this guy says he's only been collecting for 3 years. He's picking up the mantle of that other guy who kept track of each panel.
How fucking depressing would it be if this young fan was like an African-American kid and he just wants one character that looks like him? And
yeah, next issue, he's gone.
And I'm sure there were a few of those kids out there, you know?
Yeah, probably. Probably a handful of kids like that.
We found your letter interesting.
I'm trying to formulate an opinion on this notion that they're like, the editor writes back and says, a lot of readers might have this opinion that...
but never voice.
Yeah, they never say it. Even though they might dislike some aspects, they like other aspects of the Legion of Superheroes comics. And that's why it's successful, is that it's so middle of the road.
Right.
That's why it's successful.
That the good fans know better than to complain and voice their concerns. They know their place.
But he says that it's one of DC's hottest books.
Maybe. I don't know.
It may be going down in flames. That's why it's so hot. I don't know.
Right.
He says, who is this? Jack C. Harris is the editor of this one. He says, we think we found our artist with this issue, but we're not going to say so officially because if we do, something is sure to happen. He's talking about Jimmy James, right?
Unfortunately.
He says, we hope to make Tyroc a more active and more interesting Legionnaire for 3 issues before we get rid of him entirely for 10 years.
Yeah, it's strange. He's gone forever. Like
Levitt's brought him back in the 2010s. That's what you were talking about.
Right. So
yeah, I was thinking you meant that in the early 80s
Levitt's brought him back Levitt's brought him back like 30 years later.
Yeah. So he wasn't Tyroc was not present for like the Princess Projectra wedding. He wasn't in that, was he?
No, I think they permanently sealed him off.
Yeah.
I don't think he's even like in Great Darkness Saga or anything. Yeah, it isn't until 5 years later that I'm assuming Tom and Mary was probably their call to bring him back.
Yeah, I wonder how, as I recall, they send him away and like they lock him up and throw away the key. Like there's no way this guy's ever coming back for 200 years.
Right.
I wonder how they figured it out.
So like in 200 years, can he come back like the Phantom Zone, or is it like 200 years later the portal opens and he's long dead?
Now that I don't know. His town or his island or whatever fades away from Earth and goes to another place for 200 years, and when it
Why
returns,
don't they just hop in the time bubble, go 200 years into the future, go through the portal, travel back to their time, grab him, go back to some other period that it's open, probably not the same one you just came through, and go back.
Sounds like an exciting adventure right there. You should pitch that to DC. The return of Tyroc.
Way over Brainiac 5's head. Brainiac 5 never could figure that out.
Yeah, he would need Tyroc's powers to move the time bubble or some shit. They could go back in time and pick up Black Canary.
Right.
Like if it's a beautiful blonde with those powers, she's going to be around. It's a system, man.
They don't make good use of those time bubbles. They're not too imaginative with them. Just keep going back to Smallville. Like 5 years later, great collapse. Maybe go back a couple of years and fix that shit.
That's true. They could have averted all of that stuff.
Right.
Or like, once you know who caused the Magic Wars, you can go back and fix that before it happened.
Superboy's dead. Time bubble. Yeah. Let's go get Feral Lad. Yeah.
So stupid, these fucking guys. I think they're such big brains, Mr. 12 level intelligence.
Right.
Jesus Christ. They say write to Bob Overstreet if you find a typo in the Overstreet price guide. Don't bother us at DC Comics with it. The next letter is Manuel Richard Enriquez. He's talking about the Legion Constitution and how these honorary Legionnaires must take part in Legion activities twice a year or lose their membership.
Mm-hmm.
And then he rattles off the list of all the honorary Legionnaires who we have not seen in a Legion comic in forever. And he's like, what the fuck? How come they're still honorary Legionnaires?
Did you mention he skips over a couple though, right? No Insect Queen, right?
Yeah, he says Jimmy Olsen, Ron Vidar, Pete Ross. And I think actually the only other one is
Psycho Lad? He's probably not around yet.
He's a reserve Legionnaire, Kid Psycho.
Okay.
Like there's a distinction. We might confuse some reserve Legionnaires with honorary Legionnaires.
Which one's Insect Queen?
I don't know. She seems like she's probably an honorary Legionnaire because she doesn't live in the 30th century. And Superboy's a real Legionnaire, but she only like helped him by accident, that kind of shit, you know?
If you say so.
I mean, I don't know. I don't care. But this guy takes issue with the fact that they have not participated in any Legion activities in quite some time. Jack C. Harris then comes to explain to us that a month of comic book David time is not the same as a month of comic book Legion of Superheroes comic book time. But they play fast and loose with that because every issue is kind of 1,000 years from today. But then also, it also is not necessarily precisely a month after last month's issue. So they can really, they can have it both ways if they want, these fucking editorial
and what about
sons
these
of bitches.
Fucking, like these 2 issues, it's cliffhanger. There's only seconds apart, but somehow it's a month further into the future.
Yeah, it's a month further into the future in the little caption box on the first page. Mm-hmm. But as far as Jimmy Olsen is concerned, they only took place minutes apart, just like the way we understand them when we read them.
Right.
Lucky they got this figured out. Otherwise, Jimmy Olsen and Pete Ross, they would lose their honorary membership. And they would have to go back to being nobodies.
Knowing what we know now, in hindsight, Did any of these people ever show up again, as he sort of promised they might? I mean, Ron Vidar, of course.
Yeah, Ron Vidar's around all the time.
Right.
I don't think so. I don't think we saw Jimmy Olsen ever again in a Legion comic. Pete Ross, like the day that Superboy died, he showed up.
He might be in that Superboy Giffen annual too. Was he in the one we just covered? Was he in 300?
He was in 300 because there's a part where Luthor's robots are going to kill Lana Lang and Pete Ross. So he's in that.
Right.
However, that's not under the aegis of Jack C. Harris's editorship. That's sometime later. Right. It's 40 months later.
Is it that far?
Well, this is the letters of issue 263, right?
Oh.
And then Pete Ross is in issue 300, 37 months later.
The big brain on David.
Sometimes.
That 12th level intelligence.
I can do simple mathematics, but that shit about Black Vulcan that you're saying, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then he teases a appearance by Supergirl. Manuel Enriquez wants Supergirl to come back, and they say she might come back in the near future. I don't know when she comes back. Not for a while, that I recall.
Our future, that is. If we waited for the Legion's future, we'd have to wait 1,000 years.
Mama. Isn't the Legion's future also? Well, I guess it's not. He's talking about the future of Earth Prime and not the future
Earth
of
Prime.
Earth 1. I guess the Legion's on Earth 1.
Yeah, you're right.
They didn't have Earth 1, Earth 2, and then Earth Prime, did they? Earth Prime kind of showed up with the Crisis series, is that right? Or was it even after that? They were like, oh, the one we love on is called Earth Prime.
I'm not sure they even have that. Isn't like Superboy Prime from like yet another universe where there's just regular people? It's supposed to be like our Earth.
Yeah, they call it Earth Prime, but I don't know if they ever called it Earth Prime back in the days of like Flash of Two Worlds or whatever, you know, like where the Golden Age Flash exists in the comic books that the Silver Age Flash reads, but then the Silver Age Flash exists in a comic book that David can read here on Earth
It's
Prime.
like Jules Schwartz or somebody who's psychic. There was some sort of explanation in there, like he has some kind of extrasensory abilities he's unaware of, and he's dreaming. His dreams are actually, he's having visions of this other world.
Oh, that's Julius Schwartz, huh?
You think?
Maybe it's all in his snow globe, or his snow globe with the Legion headquarters rocket ship in it.
Did that happen?
I bet that's where they got it. That's where that came from St. Elsewhere, huh?
Was there a snow globe in Citizen Kane?
That's just what I was thinking. I was about to say Citizen Kane. There's some kind of snowy shit.
Right.
Some kind of fucking snowy shit.
Right.
Frank Fazekas. Fairborn, Ohio. I've been out of touch with Superboy and the Legion for such a long time now that I've forgotten who's who and who can do what. Is there some issue or special edition that lists each superhero's powers and weaknesses? If not, such a list would be helpful.
Do you think they wrote this?
As a way to
introduce their new series?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't look up his next paragraph before we get into the new miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I haven't seen a copy of Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes for about 3 years, and page 8 of issue 256 was a shock. What happened to Legion's Clubhouse? Is there anything left? So I guess page 8, issue 256 must be a new headquarters or the destruction of something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they don't put it in here, I have no idea.
Yeah, I guess I just assumed, because he mentioned he hadn't read it in 3 years, that was just like a shot with an image of the new headquarters, not the old one happening to blow up just when he read it.
Yeah, because it got blowed up by Omega in issue 251 or something, right?
Omega.
Omega. I'm going to England in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be saying Omega or Omega all the time.
Omega.
I'll be like, coming from the United States to England on an airplane was like going from Alpha to Omega.
Right, from A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
Did we ever figure out what their zero is?
I was about to say that. I can't remember. I couldn't think of it. Back to the miniseries. This guy's asking about a list of all the Legionnaires and their powers and weaknesses.
Weren't we talking about this last week about the first limited series?
Yeah, I think we talked about it in the context of the comic book, probably. I think you said in the letters page, it says World of Krypton was the first one. Because I thought maybe
it was a Batman.
Batman was the first one.
Told ya.
Yeah, you're right.
Jack C. Harris wouldn't fucking lie. Well, he lied about Tyroc.
But as a way to address this guy's question about all the powers and the weaknesses and the who's who and what's what of the Legion of Superheroes, Jack C. Harris says, you remember World of Krypton 1, 2, and 3? First DC miniseries. He explains what a miniseries is. It was unknown, right, I guess, to DC readers prior to World of Krypton what a miniseries might be. Like
maybe it's tiny little books.
Yeah. Like was Roots like the first TV miniseries and the comic books got the idea from that?
Maybe.
Like there'd been series that got canceled before they really went very far, but then Roots couldn't have been the first miniseries that was meant to be a finite series that was only a certain number of episodes, right?
Yeah.
It's the first one I can think of, though, right? And it was big. It was huge.
Yeah, and now they pretend they don't happen anymore, but that's all prestige television is.
Yeah, basically everything is a miniseries.
Right.
They just get picked up for another season,
right,
or whatever. And it's
right.
Like,
it's Next Generation or more Lonesome Dove or whatever.
Yeah, Lonesome Dove.
I have a friend who swears by those books. Maybe they are
I
good.
think I've heard they're good. That first miniseries is supposed to be real good. I don't really remember it.
Yeah.
Robert Duvall, your favorite actor, Robert Duvall, is in it.
Yeah, but when I think of old Robert Duvall, I think of like the scenes I've seen from that movie, and that's why I didn't know he was a good actor for so long, because he plays all these like old, happy, dumbass folksy guys.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Yeah, he hardly ever plays somebody serious anymore, huh?
Right. But he used to always play like really intense characters.
Yeah.
When he was young.
Right. And then he was just switched to a crotchety old timer, huh?
Yeah.
And he's been that.
A lot of weed now.
He's seriously been a crotchety old timer in movies since I was a kid. For about half his life, he's been the old timer.
Right. Same. That's why I was like so shocked to see him in, I don't know, it was Boo Radley and some of those earlier.
How the hell old is this guy? He's got to be in his hundreds right now, right?
I think he's not in his hundreds, but I think he's pushing 90.
Wow.
Gene Hackman's in his 90s.
Yeah, Gene Hackman. Alan Arkin, he just died. He was in his 90s. These guys are all so good. I bet there's a movie that had Alan Arkin, Gene Hackman, and Robert Duvall in it, right?
Probably.
Probably like
they all have to go into space or something.
If only.
Right.
That would have been so much better. I mean, I didn't see that one with Clint Eastwood and James Garner in it, but if you had swapped these leading men out for like the second banana guys,
right,
that would have been so much better.
Donald Sutherland is kind of one of those guys, though, right? And he was in it.
Oh, yeah. Was he the fourth guy? He was like the young guy in that movie. Did you see that movie? It's called Space Cowboys, right? I never saw it.
I saw part of it, but it just had that, like, they're winking at the camera and smiling the whole time. Just like everything Robert Duvall does now.
Are they all Western guys? It's James Garner, Clint Eastwood.
It's James Garner, Clint Eastwood, Donald Sutherland, and Tommy Lee Jones.
Okay. See, Tommy Lee Jones, I don't think of as a cowboy, except that he was in fucking Lonesome Dove, I think.
Yeah, they're not cowboys. It's like... That's
like it would have been good if they had done this thing where they take old time...
Where they're literally cowboys going into space.
No, like it's all the actors from the Western shows. Like if you had Michael Landon in there, or who else was a big cowboy actor? Like Warren Oates. Or James Arness or somebody, you know?
See,
and
like,
it's like,
all these
those guys
are dead.
They're just too old, huh?
They were dead back then. John Wayne.
Yeah, John Wayne would have been
James Stewart, not Jimmy. James Stewart.
No, I'm thinking of, who's it? The chubby guy.
Who plays Haas?
Dirk Blocker, yeah. Haas.
Legion of Superheroes. 263.
Oh, keep your eye out for the Secrets of the Legion of Superheroes mini series coming your way soon. It'll tell you all you need to know about how great the Legion of Superheroes is. But yeah, Jack Harris says it's going to be the most talked about thing since Earth War. I don't know how much talk Earth War got, but evidently a lot.
I think my problem with Earth War is it's too fucking confusing. There's so many different things going on. It's like you said, it was like... and then like Mordru shows up at the very last second. I think.
Yeah, that's right. Mordru becomes the big bad or whatever. Right. I had totally forgotten that was the thing. Like we did one of them a while back.
Right.
And I'm like, who is
It's also weird because I think that whole thing is during the period where Conway and Levitz are like alternating. Like they're writing every other issue. Or maybe they're writing like 2 different Earth Wars. I don't.
It's as if this is a hot comic, but nobody really wants to work on it.
It's like a jam comic that they're taking turns writing and pulling it in opposite directions.
Yeah, it's like a writer's
Mordrew's
jam
the
comic.
bad guy.
It's like
the Dominators.
It's like DC Challenge.
I've never read that. Is that what it is?
I've only ever read the Giffen issue, but the way I understand it is that, every issue is written and drawn by a different creative team, and the people there's no plot for the whole story. It's like, I turn in my issue, and then the next team reads it, and they decide where it goes after that. It's on and on down the line for 12 issues.
Is it good? The one issue?
The Giffen one is good. It's Giffen and Hunt. It looks really good. It's Dr. Fate, I think, in that one. The pairing of Giffen and Dave Hunt, it's really good. Around 1984, 5, 6. That's the best. Like, I don't like Kurt Swan and Dave Hunt. I don't like Steve Ditko and Dave Hunt. But Giffen and Hunt on like the Dr. Fate miniseries or on the Dr. Fate issue of DC Challenge, it's really good. So good.
I misremembered his name as Mike Hunt.
What? What is it?
Mike Hunt.
York? What? Your cunt is what? That was 263. We're done with the 263. We're done with the 263 letters page. That was it.
I think we should just power through 264 because there's only 2 letters here.
Yep, that's right. All right, let's take a little break though. Let me get
He'll punch himself in the face. Why does he want to keep going?
Let me get my hammer and smash my forehead with it. So this is the Legion Outpost for Superboy 264, right? This is a double dose of Legion Outpost we're doing.
Double talk.
Do you remember it's a Ben Katchor double talk strip where Julius Knipple goes into like a double talk restaurant?
No.
Where everything they say is like, it just blows your mind. Like, it's a weird comic, but then also you're trying to decipher every double talk thing that these people say to him and like figure out what they're actually trying to say. It's such a weird thing. Those Ben Katchor comics are so good. I love that stuff.
I think I heard. I've never seen it, but there's some animated stuff. Maybe on Saturday Night Live.
I don't know about that. That could be. I know he did some like theater stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was like theater, and the guy who did like the Pete and Pete theme song was part of it or something. And Ben Katchor. Such a weird paths.
What happened to that dude?
Ben Katchor? No, he's still out there. Like, he does that New York Comic Symposium. He took the year off, and Austin did it instead. But I think he's back on it now.
I think he's a lot younger than I always expected him to be. I was thinking he's an older dude.
Well, I think he's old, but he's probably 65 or whatever, late 60s maybe. Yeah. Nowadays that doesn't look like such an old person, I guess, right?
Yeah. But
no, I loved his comics. When I got like, I think I bought like The Jew of New York at those mall bookstores that show up just around the holidays or whatever, those overstock ones or those remaindered bookshops,
Oh yeah.
I bought Jew of New York, and I bought David Boring. David Boring was in the children's section of that bookstore. I got them around at the same time, the Beauty Supply District and then Jew of New York. But I think the Double Talk strip is in Beauty Supply District.
Oh, okay.
They're so good. They're so strange. I love reading those.
Kind of makes sense now that I think about it, that you like them so much.
There's probably a bit of an influence on me back then. I mean, I haven't read any of it in a long time, but I think the Jew in New York book, it was really good. Mm-hmm. I think I was on a trip, or maybe I was moving from Kansas to Chicago or something. I can't remember. I feel like I was in a motel room with my parents, but I was like 22 or something when I read that, And your parents helped you move? I just assumed they ran you out. Oh, they're like, whatever it takes.
You got run out of town.
Yeah. Well, son like you, we don't need. Don't you ever come back here. I have no son.
Right.
Like, I don't need you. Well, move it out. Anyway, I in this hotel room, I feel like I read half of that book just the same day I got it at wherever that was, a Mall of America or someplace like
Unlikely
that.
place. Is that like where you first discovered it, or you already knew he was when you saw it?
I don't think I knew who he was. I think I just was at this bookshop and maybe I'd heard his name, but I'm like, well, that book is $5. I'll buy it, you know? Because they were remaindered. It was marked down. Vaguely remember trying to peel the sticker off of it, the price sticker, but it was that weird, like, thick craft board stuff was the cover.
He was taking the cover off.
And I couldn't peel it off. It was going to ruin it. So I had to like
that's
just
the
press
worst.
it back down and leave it on there.
I hate that shit.
You know, alcohol might get it off, but it might also ruin the cover. I don't know.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of him before I ran into the book and bought it, like at a Borders. It's just at a period where there was so little of that stuff out there.
Yeah.
Like anything that didn't have capes, I might buy in that section. So
Yeah, it turned out that to me, it's like, it's just so readable and so unusual. And it's
was
like,
it syndicated in some
I think
fashion?
they were in like the Julius Knipple stuff was in like those alternative weeklies for a long time, I
Right.
think. And then he had that one, like they did finally put out a book of it. It's in color. It's called, I'm drawing a blank on what it's called, but it's a big book. It only came out after it came out after the Beauty Supply District and Jew in New York. And there's another earlier Julius Knipple book. It's called Julius Knipple, Real Estate Photographer. I think those three are from a little while later. And then 10 years after that, this color one came out. And they're strips that were in like Architectural Digest or something. They're in color. They're all drawn
Weird.
on an iPad or something. Looks so weird. But they're pretty
They
cool
look
looking.
Okay. Yeah. He didn't have a stint in that New York Times magazine.
I don't know. Like, yeah, with like the Jaime Hernandez and Chris Ware stuff.
Right. Right.
He may have, but I can't remember.
I have seen like pages of his work, not in a long ass time, but in magazines in the past.
Yeah.
Unlikely places.
Well, there was like some of his very first stuff. Well, I don't know if it's his first stuff. Some super early stuff in like some like fucking what's it called? Like a Warren magazine or something, you know, from like
Oh, weird.
1980, and it's like a totally different style than you think of him for. You know, like there's none of that washed stuff. It's all like line. It's really weird looking.
He wasn't in some of those later Raws, was he?
I wouldn't be surprised. Like the little digest book ones, I bet he was in that. I wouldn't be surprised. But and I mean, maybe if he was in that, that might have been a place that made me be like, oh yeah, I'll buy this Jew in New York book in the weird fly by night mall reduced price remaindered bookstore.
I wonder who put out that big book. Was that like a Pantheon thing?
It seems like it, yeah. Like a bigger publisher. It's not like a Fantagraphics thing. I'm really drawing a blank on what that's called. But it was a monthly. It was in or I don't know how often Architectural Digest came out, but it was like 2 pages.
It was really literally an Architectural Digest.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And you used to be able to see it on the website too. Like it would be on the website, but then eventually there was enough for, there's 120 of them and they put them in a big hardcover. But yeah, Ben Katchor, great cartoonist, one of the greats.
Should have drawn Legion.
He would have done a great RJ Brand.
Yep.
Marla, RJ Brand and Marla. Run with it, Ben Katchor. Do your thing. Do your magic on these characters. One guy's a billionaire, and the other guy is a soccer coach for high school kids. Do your thing.
Now that the Legion is getting its own comic, that must be in reference to the name change?
I think so. Steve Ahern, Hudson, Mass. Yeah, I think it must be no more Superboy in the Legion. It's just straight up the Legion of Superheroes. And it does happen around this time, so that must be what he's talking about.
Weird. I thought it was further back.
He has some comments on the way some characters are handled. 9 Legionnaires had trouble taking on a squad of science police. But then he says that they're imposter science police. But their powers are not used to their full potential. He says this is where he's talking about Princess Projectra. Maybe she could use her powers to show that to surprise them. Instead of like conjuring up a giant snake to scare them, she could bring up the entire forces of the Legion of Superheroes. Even if there was only like 2 of them, she could show all of them or or et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Or the way she used her powers when she first showed the Legion what she could do, which was creating this weird, they were all in kind of limbo and they were dizzy and falling all over because they were in like this big psychedelic.
Yeah, she could do like some kind of weird Doctor Strange world, make them feel like they're tripping balls on LSD.
Right.
If she wanted. Yeah, it seems like you could take out anybody like that if you could really disorient a person that way.
Mm-hmm.
I almost said disorientate a person, but we're on the wrong side of the ocean for that. Next thing you know, I'll be saying Omega. But yeah, she could disorient people to the nth degree. Make these bad guys, these science cops, shit their pants and throw up if she wanted.
These science pigs.
But yeah, I guess this Steve Ahern, he's critical of the way the characters demonstrate the power, specifically in this case, Princess Projectra.
Mm-hmm.
He also says that Color Kid kind of has a similar power to Projectra and Shadowless. Shadowless has the ability to cast darkness or something. She can make you clouded in darkness.
I guess like Projectra could conceivably do the same things as those two characters, maybe.
Yeah, she could do it, but she could do a bunch of other stuff. She would totally blow those two out of the water. Color Kid is, I mean, I think maybe the hierarchy would go Projectra number 1, Color Kid number 2, and Shadowless number 3. I don't know how Shadowless really got on the team, only it was a dire emergency.
You mean like power levels, right? Because maybe Shadowless, now Projectra is my favorite of the three, but Shadowless, especially the way she seems to be written later, seems like she's more ruthless. Like maybe she could kill a man with her bare hands.
Oh, you think that's part of the test process? Like she's auditioning for the Legion, and they're like, all right, Shadowless, we're down to the last two. It's you and Color Kid. We'll choose the person who could kill a person with their bare hands. Is it you, Color Kid? And he's like, I'm not a killer. And they're like, all right, Shadowless, you're in.
I'm just saying Color Kid might have greater power than she does, but she could take him in hand-to-hand combat, probably. If I remember the way she was written in the later days, like when she's cutting her finger off to show that she seems like, I don't know, she's a warrior or something.
Yeah, but all the times that they audition people, it's always based on their powers and how well they wield their powers. Isn't that right? She didn't
audition.
Right. She was drafted during an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
But if she can cast darkness, Color Kid could also do that. He could cast darkness. He could do black. He could do purple. He could do blue, green, yellow, red.
Maybe. But we're not talking about pigment here. We're talking about light, right?
What is color except light or lack of light?
Right. Like wouldn't she negate his powers?
Depends on how strong his powers are. He could do the opposite. He could be like, sorry, Shadowless, all white this time.
I'm a little fuzzy remembering how his powers work. I'm picturing him shooting rainbows out of his fingers. But
yeah, that's all I can remember too.
Is he producing? Is the light emanating from him, or is he just changing the color of the light?
I think he can just change the color of an object. I think that's. Oh,
then Shadowless would probably take him out because she could probably just make his powers useless.
I think Shadowless can do some crazy shit like making a whole planet be in nighttime or something like that if she wants. Oh. And I don't know that Color Kid could pull that off. But if he could make the whole atmosphere of a planet be dark blue, it's almost as good as Shadowless. Or he could do it for all the colors.
Could she take down Mon-El or Superboy by like blocking the sunlight?
Oh, like the red sun?
Bodies?
Yeah.
Or no, I wasn't thinking like red sun, but yeah, that too.
Yeah, the yellow sun. She could save Superboy by blocking the red sun or something like that.
Or Color Kid could maybe make the light red.
He could, yeah. Or he could make the sun red or yellow. We'll have to have this needs a story to address this conundrum.
One of my many dream ideas of how to bring the Legion back involves not bringing them back at all, just sidestepping them and just start a sub book.
Like a sub book or a book about the substitute heroes?
A book about the subs.
Uh-huh.
like kind of sidestepping them. But it could be like Legion could show up through the back door, kind of backdoor pilot thing somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they did in that new movie, right? Where it's about the academy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think you could go the substitute heroes route and make them even more, I don't know, scrappy DIY heroes or something like that, right? Like, yeah, the second class citizen type of characters, trying to earn acceptance.
I think they seem like they would be very fun to write, not just because they can be funny, but because they have to be creative with their powers. Mm-hmm. They have to sort of work together to become. It's like all of them together make one competent hero.
Wow, only one competent hero?
Well, it's like they all have kind of half-assed powers, but if they pool their powers...
Maybe someday. Maybe somebody will do that.
Yeah, they're giving the Legion's old headquarters. They're going to pick it up in the fucking junkyard. What the hell, man?
There's that's going to go to the junkyard. They're not going to move it.
Did it just stay in the junkyard?
Yeah, I thought that was your idea. That like they always, all their meetings are held at the old Legion headquarters in the junkyard.
That was a good idea of mine. I don't remember it, but that's great. That's what I would do if I were me.
Steve Ahern says a few things I'd like to see. More rotation of heroes. Okay. Yeah. He says we see the same ones all the time. I think probably so. Need to see less Mon-El, less Shadowless, less Superboy, less Brainiac 5. Maybe those other guys instead.
Mm-hmm.
He says, where is Tyroc? Everybody wants to know where Tyroc is. Tyroc was introduced. He was in a couple issues, and now he's been back.
It's almost like they got so tired of getting the letters. They're like, fine, we're just sending him somewhere where he can never come back in the story.
Yeah, we're going to tell you what happened to Tyroc. Here he is. He's gone.
We were going to bring him back, but you guys wouldn't shut up about him, so... Now he's gone forever, along with all the other black people in the 30th century. They're all gone till the 32nd century.
And it's your fault. If you just shut up, they would have been there, but you had to make a big deal about it, make a federal case about it.
Right.
He says, get them out of uniform more often. I'm in favor of that, especially Princess Projectra. And Dream Girl and Shadowless. But he wants them to go undercover or have some off-duty stories.
Some out-of-uniform, undercover, off-duty operations.
Team up with Anne Ride.
Sounds like sex.
Yeah, extracurricular activities.
Mm-hmm. Some hard missions.
Missionary missions.
Right.
Use Brainiac 5 like you did against the Resource Raiders and the Sewer Monster. Did Brainiac 5 fight a sewer monster?
I don't know. That'd be a good story.
And he suggests that Lazon of the League of Super Assassins should be brought back as Reflecto, the unintroduced Legionnaire who's destined to die in the classic adult Legion two-parter, or what is that, Adventure Comics 354 or something like that, I think. I think when they brought back Lazon, he was in the
354.
I nailed it. I'm starting to remember all these numbers, these issue numbers again.
He's an expert. Go ahead.
When they brought back Lazon, finally, he was in the Legion of Super Villains, and he was a real bad guy. He's like a fire guy, I think, like a sun boy, maybe. I don't know how he has Reflecto powers, except that he's red-haired. That's the only connection to Reflecto. Reflecto has powers where if you shoot your powers at Reflecto, he reflects those powers right back at you. That's Reflecto. I don't know how Lazon's powers work. Lazon.
I don't even remember that dude.
He's really boring. He has like an orange and yellow suit. Orange hair, but I think maybe that this is the Legion of Supervillains story from the 1984 Legion of Superheroes reboot, Legion of Supervillains story. I think he's like an insane person. I think he's a really bad killer guy in that.
But he looks kind of like Sunboy.
Kinda, yeah, like a red-haired guy with a orange and yellow suit. Could be anybody.
Boring. My name is Lazon.
I don't know.
This is power. He sits on the couch a lot.
Yeah, he lays on his back all the time because he's so
Doesn't
lazy.
Take out the trash when his wife asks him to.
Yeah.
I remember this dude.
More like loser.
Lose on.
And is this still Jack C. Harris? Yeah, Jack C. Harris, still the editor. He says, we published your letter because you stated some of the very things we want to see in this book. Okay, what's the list of things they want to see? More rotation of heroes, Tyroc, more nude superheroes, different Brainiac 5 characterization, reprint of the Sun Eater, and Lazon as Reflecto. Evidently, they want to see all of those or just some of those, maybe. The creative team is still working to hit their stride, he says. We're using different heroes and heroines, including the mysterious Tyroc. He's so mysterious because they haven't ever explained anything about him in any comic.
Mysterious as in, where'd that one guy go who's supposed to be on the team?
Right.
Been in the comic for 5 issues.
He says, we had a 2-part story with the Legionnaires out of costume much of the time, and we weren't quite sure if we were happy with it. Not sure which issues those were. 2-parter. And they say check out some Blue Ribbon Digest bullshit for reprints. Those Blue Ribbon Digests, like back in those days, there wasn't a lot for reprints, I guess, as far as like prolonged reprint series. But man, those digests, they suck. They're so small.
I hate to agree now. I loved them when I was a kid. Now, though, it's like, this is too fucking small.
Well, yeah, just as an old dude who can't fucking see anymore, but also like the line work gets so fine, and the Ben-Day dots of the color are so big, like it's just unreadable garbage. It's impossible. And like when you think about how they're reprinting Silver Age comics, which are bigger than a typical 1980 comic, and they're reducing them down to these digest size. The digest size for a person paying attention to this video is, what are they? They're like 5 inches tall by 4 inches wide or something.
There are certain kinds of stories from that period, and maybe more so in the Golden Age, that reduce well, I think, because the artwork is pretty sparse. But the Legion stuff, the stuff from that period, from DC especially, is so terrible for this, because those Legion stories, they usually were only half a book long. So they're very, very verbose, like tons and tons of exposition in like almost every fucking panel. So when you shrink that down, it's almost illegible.
Yeah, it's 25% of the original, basically. Give me a break. I don't know. Like some fan is like, hey, I want to know more about your comic. Well, here's 25% of it. The rest, whatever. Those digest sucks. Even the DC archives are probably better, but they're $50 hardcovers instead of a $1.25 reprint book.
Those things are like $75 nowadays. They still, DC doesn't do it anymore, I guess. Let's wrap this shit up.
All right.
So, did we even start Tasman O'Flynn yet?
Nope. The next issue is from Tamsin O'Flynn. I think this is a big, longtime Legion fan.
Tamsin. Isn't that the name of one of the Legionnaires?
Nah. Shadow has his name. Tasmia.
Okay.
Maybe that's what you're thinking of. Tamsin O'Flynn is from Massapequa Park, New York State. Sounds like straight out of fucking Ireland.
Compton? Okay.
Straight out of Ireland. Word
to your mother.
The Wu-Tang Clan and the Highlander Clan.
That would be rough.
Highlander Clan is kind of like, it's more like Scotland, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't they like cut people's heads off to live forever or something?
Some shit like that. Some kind of fucking
Freddie Mercury.
Decapitation baloney. This must be a month for beautiful exterior art. I guess she's talking about cover art. Like the illustration by Dick Giordano of Saturn Girl crumbling to dust. It was touching and dramatic.
Yes.
Tamsin O'Flynn is also a fan of the art by Joe Staton, Dave Hunt, as is Dan right here.
Dave Hunt, the greatest inker of all time.
Wow. High praise. Appreciates their attention to detail. Worth noting, for those keeping track at home, the facial expressions of R.J. Brown on page 11 and the President of Earth on page 9. And the action sequence on page 13. Excellent as well. But the favorite, Tamsin's favorite art was the last 3 pages This is what issue are you talking about here? Previous letter was talking about 258. But yeah, definitely the image of Garth and Imra in the last 2 or 3 panels, where Garth Rand's Lightning Lad's anguish is outrageously realistic. She doesn't look like she's turning to dust.
I guess that pink powder towards the bottom.
Touching and dramatic, huh? You think so?
It's nicely drawn. Yeah.
Yeah, but are you moved? You gonna cry?
She oversold it.
Yeah, maybe that sequence inside the comic is better.
Right.
The last 2 or 3 panels of the story, I guess, when Saturn Girl dies permanently and never comes back, I guess is what happens. This part of the letter is funny to me. Tamsin O'Flynn is like, she's talking about the storyline where R.J. Brand loses his fortune or it's stolen from him by the mystery person. I found the resolution of the bankruptcy mystery really interesting. Rather than go for the predictable, Jerry Conway deliberately led us to think that it couldn't possibly be the president of Earth, that such a thing was so totally impossible for a man like that I actually waited to find out who really did it. For once, the twist was when Conway let the revelation stand. It was a total surprise. I'm so used to being suspicious of pat endings that I trapped myself into believing there must be some rational explanation. There must be some rational explanation other than the one offered.
Do you think she's being sarcastic?
I have no idea. It sounds like she really really likes it. It's like, no, this was so stupid. I expected something smarter, but then I enjoyed the stupid one. It was so stupid.
Right.
But you had to pity a man who would bankrupt R.J. Brand. But R.J. Brand, evidently, he wasn't too upset. She says he could simply have been outraged over his money being usurped like that, and no one would have blamed him, but the man shows what he's made of. Never mind he's destitute now, he knows he can manage, and the Legion will always survive somehow. You have to admire that kind of character.
She's been listening to too much Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, a Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or something like that.
Right.
And then she ends her letter by saying Psycho War, which I guess is an upcoming story. Psycho War promises to be an amazing issue. An enemy capable of waging war inside their heads. Superboy leaving the Legion. It's all too much for me. I can't miss it. Psycho War. I think a character that wages war inside the heads of the heroes is going to be boring.
Yeah.
We were watching that this was the Picard series, but it was the second season, I think, obviously the terrible one, where they introduce Picard talking to his fucking psychotherapist inside his own mind, like he goes into a coma or something, and they cut to what's happening inside his mind, and he's sitting in a chair across from a doctor, and the doctor's asking him questions, and it's like all soft focused photography. I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you doing this? Like, what a trope! What a stupid trope! Like, oh, let's have the sequence where it's like the fantasy talking to your therapist inside your own mind while you're knocked out, or you're in a coma, or you're drugged. That to me, that's what Psycho War sounds like it's going to be.
Like psychotherapy comics.
The psychoanalysis, like the famous EC.
Was that what it was called?
Yeah.
EC, psychoanalysis.
The New Direction EC. Boring. Want to see people getting their heads cut off. I don't want to see somebody in
not shrunk.
Fucking doctor's office. Yeah. Unless it's by like voodoo, then maybe I guess you'll see your head being shrunk by a doctor. Some madmen looking boring ass.
Right. Freud wannabes.
Yeah, give me a break, Freud. Geez, I watched this movie. It had Lee J. Cobb, who, you'll remember him from 12 Angry Men as the foreman. And it had William Holden, but before he was a star, I think, or maybe I bet he hadn't done Sunset Boulevard yet. He wasn't super famous, but he became much more famous later. It's like a home invasion story. Lee J. Cobb is a good guy. He's a psychoanalyst. William Holden, he's a criminal thug who's never once turned his gaze inward. So William Holden and his gang take over the remote vacation cabin where Lee J. Cobb and his wife and their buddies are having a dinner party. And then Lee J. Cobb uses psychoanalysis and talks him through childhood traumas, and then they are released and he breaks them down. That's the movie.
They're holding the dinner party hostage.
That's right.
They're hiding out there.
Yeah.
And one of the people at the dinner party is a psychoanalyst.
Right.
And
instead of fighting him and getting hold of his gun and turning the tables on him, what the psychoanalysis character does is to be like, why do you hate shit like that? What makes you want to come and break into my home? Where did this start? And
by hurting others, you are really trying to hurt yourself.
Right.
And you could just turn that gun around and shoot yourself right now.
Something like that, yeah. And at first, the criminal is obviously resistant to this head shrinking bullshit. He's like, this isn't going to work on me. I am a hardened criminal. But the next thing you know, he's crying like a baby,
ready to turn himself in.
Yeah, I think he does. I'm sure he gets caught by the end. It was so stupid and boring. I don't want to watch psychoanalysis. I want to watch violent death and revenge. If you're a bad guy and you come and you take over my dinner party, I don't want the story of me talking you to death. I want the story of me shooting you to death or whatever, feeding you until you die with my dinner that you stole.
Or if the bad guy somehow manages to do some kind of literal reverse psychology and he turns the psychoanalyst into a bad guy. That
would be good. That would have been a good story, yeah. Yeah, if it turns out the criminal is smarter than the psychoanalyst, and the analyst is like, you know what? Sorry, honey.
Yeah.
You can go free. You can have my car. Here's the keys. Here's all my money. Yeah, that should have been it. But anyway, it sucked. It was terrible. That's what a story called Psycho War is going to be about, where the villain
Psycho War
gets in the head of the superheroes.
So we got here, stop and think about this for a while, Legion fans. Now that the president of Earth has been removed from office for reasons of health, Earth has no president. An emergency election is in order, and the future president has already been introduced into the Legion legend. Who is that individual? The best guessers will see their letters printed here. Is that Colossal Boy's mom? Or is that later? Because I thought that was during the Levitt's days.
I thought so too, but it must be. Who else would it be? Were they trying to tease us that R.J. Brand was going to become the president? Because that would be kind of a natural. If
rich.
Yeah, if they had some kind of storyline where the president steals the money from the richest man in the universe and then the next president is that guy, perfect sense.
I want to see his birth certificate. I don't think he was born on Earth.
I know he wasn't. Secrets of the Legion told me where he was born.
Right.
He's a sneaky shapeshifter. But yeah, I bet they wanted us to think it was going to be R.J. Brand. But yeah, probably is going to be Marty Allen, the famous comedian from Caddyshack 2.
Of course.
See former President Marty Allen starring in Caddyshack 2.
Jackie Mason.
Oh, was that Jackie Mason? It wasn't Marty Allen? You're right.
Jackie Mason.
Those guys kind of confuse those guys. Marty Allen was never the famous star that Jackie Mason was, huh?
Mm.
I bet he wasn't funnier than Marty Allen, the president of Earth and the galaxy's most famous comedian. Marty Ida Allen.
Okay.
But I guess we'll find out who the president will be eventually.
Maybe that's a pre-Levitt's thing.
It could be. Could have been Jerry Conway.
Oh, I'll ask him on Twitter.
Okay. He'll say, read the comics. It's in there.
He'll say, who?
Marty Allen, the comedian?
Marty Allen? What? Legion what? I did that for a paycheck 40 years ago, kid.
Well, the same month he wrote a Legion issue, he also wrote Power Man and Iron Fist and whatever, Teen Titans. I don't know what else he wrote.
Well, weird. You didn't feel the need to write Power Man out. Send him to another dimension.
Because his name was in the title. He probably couldn't, even though he wanted to. Like a Stan Lee's like, hey, how about you, Excelsior, why don't you write Power Man? And he's like, well, all right, I'll write Power Man, but how do I get rid of Power Man in this comic book? Wouldn't Power Man be a better comic book without Power Man?
Yeah, oddly, it's the white guy in that has aged more poorly.
Iron Fist?
Because he's
cultural appropriation, right?
Right.
Yep. Legion of Superheroes 263 and 264.
Long live the Legion.